You know it. You tell the story. You tell the whole wide world this is their territory.
Welcome to Tell the Whole Damn World. We're the podcast that celebrates all things Cal and the prominent people associated with UC Berkeley, known to many as the center of the universe. We hope to put a smile on your face and help you come away feeling good about your connection to the greatest university on the planet. It's Monday, November 17th, 2025. It's been nearly 1 year since we first started this podcast, and it's another great day to be a bear. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm your host, Reza Serafinejad. Does Mark Madsen really qualify as a good guest for a show that's all about Cal? I mean, the guy is almost synonymous with Stanford. And why the heck are we releasing this episode during Big Game Week? Well, I'll share something with you. I'm probably not nearly as smart as some of you may think, and didn't realize that this day would be the first day of Big Game Week. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because after you watch this episode, I'm betting you'll feel the same way I feel about Mark. Sure, he went to Stanford and all that, but the guy really loves it here at Cal. He's an East Bay boy. If we had continued recruiting him in high school, he probably would have played for us. And I can honestly say I feel really good about him being the head coach of our basketball program. The guy is the genuine article, and I don't think we could possibly have a better coach in charge of our men's basketball team. So stay tuned and see for yourself. Before we get to the interview, we have some exciting news. We're going to do our very first live stream podcast this Friday. Ahmad and I have been invited by the Cal Alumni Association to do a live pregame episode before the men's basketball game versus Sacramento State on Friday, November 21st at Alumni House. It's part of a special House to Haas pregame celebration that will be collecting canned goods, rice, pasta, and other foods to support a local food pantry. Music, games, and activities will start up at 5 p.m., and we start our live stream at 6 p.m. So if you're in the area and planning to go to the game, please stop by Alumni House to check us out, or just tune in to our YouTube channel to watch our live stream. Ahmad and I will welcome a special guest that you won't want to miss. We have a couple of other fun surprises coming your way during Big Game Week, so be sure to be on the lookout for what we have coming up. And I want to thank all of you out there for helping to tell the whole damn world about us. We just recently broke past 500 subscribers on YouTube and have seen a lot more people tuning in. Please help keep that momentum going and tell all your friends about us. Share us on social media. You can follow us on X at Win4Cal. That's Win, the number 4, Cal. And you can always find our latest YouTube videos posted directly to our website at tellthewholedamnworld.com. Speaking on behalf of all of us here, thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you more than you know. And finally, if you know people living in Richmond, please tell them all about my co-host, Ahmad Anderson, who was running for mayor of Richmond. There's no question he would do wonders for the city of pride and purpose. Hang tight, and I'll be right back with Ahmad, the Hall of Famer who created Bear Territory, and we'll spend some time with the head coach of the California Golden Bears men's basketball team, Mark Madsen. If you had told the 27-year-old me back in the late 1990s that I'd be standing here interviewing Mark Madsen, there's no way I would believe you. I wanted nothing to do with that guy. It wouldn't be a stretch to say I hated him. He was tenacious and determined and frustrating as heck to watch play, especially when he was playing for Stanford and beating our Golden Bears. Mark took the Stanford Cardinal to the Final Four as a player and went on to a pro career playing alongside NBA legends Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant with the Los Angeles Lakers, where he became a two-time NBA champion. He eventually transitioned into a coaching career and was the head coach of Utah Valley from 2019 through 2023, where he won 2 Western Athletic Conference regular season championships and was named the WAC Coach of the Year in 2023. And going back to the 27-year-old me in the late 90s, If you had told me back then that he'd someday be the head coach of the California Golden Bears men's basketball team, I'd have said you've completely lost your mind. But we live in remarkable times. And if the Cal community can come to love and embrace Stanford Hall of Famer Mark Madsen as our head coach, then I've got to believe that even in a world as divided as we seem to have, there's got to be hope that we can all come together. We're very happy and excited to have the 19th head coach of the California Golden Bears, Mark Madsen, with us today. Welcome to the show, Coach. We appreciate you making the time.
Reza, Ahmad, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to spend some time and look forward to sharing some stories, having some laughs, and talking a lot of Cal.
We love it. We love it. And like I was saying before we turned on the camera, it's really no joke. When I was a younger man and seeing you just play the way that you played, it was so frustrating. And I wanted nothing to do with you. But then I've gotten to know you, and just like everywhere you go, you are just so wonderfully charismatic, and it's just so grateful that you are our head coach. I mean, you're an East Bay boy when it comes right back down to it, right? You're from this side of the Bay. When did you decide, and what made you decide to get into coaching?
When I was playing basketball in college over at Stanford, you have all these long flights. You fly to UW, you fly to Washington State. And I had always been impressed with John Wooden. And so I was reading his book. And I thought about the impact that my high school coach, John Rayner, had on me over at Santa Ramon High School. I thought about what a great coach and person Mike Montgomery is. And kind of literally, as I was reading that book, I thought to myself, I want to become a coach. I want to become a basketball coach. And, when I retired from the NBA, the timing was strange because I had gotten traded from the Timberwolves to the Clippers. And so I flew into LA now as a Clipper. And, this was, I don't think Ballmer had taken over the organization. And there's a big difference in LA between being on the Lakers and being on the Clippers. They had a stockpile at the power forward. So they had floated an idea of a buyout, a win-win for everybody. And so we ended up negotiating a buyout, and I decided I wanted to get into coaching, and most of the jobs were taken, but there was an opening in the G League. And so I kind of took that opening, and that was my first coaching job.
You've certainly been at it now for a little while, and you are not a spring chicken anymore when it comes to the amount of coaching experience that you've got. And you're now entering your third year here at Cal. Can you walk us through going back to how it all went down when you were offered the job to be the head coach here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I was at Utah Valley, and, Jay John reached out and he said, hey, we're looking at people to interview for this job, for the Cal job opening. And he said, would you have any interest in interviewing? And I said, absolutely. I think growing up right here in Danville, a lot of my teachers in high school were Cal graduates.
Right.
My first my first visit, it was an unofficial visit, was to Cal. And Ahmad, I went to a football game, and as part of that visit, and I'm not sure if you were there or not, but I heard your song. And I just thought, wow, this is cool. Somebody had the red shirt. They were yelling at him to take it off.
Wow.
So I was pretty interested in Cal. There was a coaching change, and kind of, I think the new staff went a different direction recruiting wise. They were going more national. Ended up having an unbelievable and great experience at Stanford, but I still had huge interest in interviewing for the job. And so, went through the interview process and really put my heart into it. And when they offered me the job, I was all over it.
Well, look, I got to tell you, the first time we met, we're up at the Claremont, and you're doing your Mark Madsen thing, and you have not only your whole staff, your staff walked in, some of the recruits walked in with their parents, and you're looking, and I introduced myself, and you're like, all of a sudden this giant of a man, this guy I've watched not only as a professional but also in college, and never been a Laker. Oh, I was a Laker fan back in the Jerry West days. I'm 65, so I definitely Elgin Baylor days for sure. But Stanford. My son went to Stanford, so I'm not a hater in that way. But I'm looking at this guy who I've watched, and he stops in the middle of this where I'm trying to lay down why these guys should come to Cal and tell these parents this is why you should be here. At the end of the day, no matter who says you should leave NIL, before you leave, come see me about your Golden Bear. And I look at this big, tall guy, the coach, and he says to me, while I'm in the midst of this, I remember your song. I remember coming here as a recruit. And I'm like, this tall, professional god of a man is up to this 5'9.5" guy, and he stops to say, I remember your band story. And I thought that was so humbling and so great and so who you are, man. So I being an East Bay guy, really appreciate your travels, having gone around, gone to Cal, you going to Stanford, and then coming home. Tell me what that's like, man. After having a great career as a Stanford player, and then you flip the script and you come to Cal. What 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 turned the corner for you for being here and doing the great things that you've done representing the Bears?
Yeah, Ahmad, first of all, man, I don't know if you remember this, Ahmad, but when we met at the Claremont, after you gave your speech to the players, I said, Ahmad, we got a spot on staff for you.
Yes,
I don't know if you remember, but I told you
yes,
that.
I do.
But
And I told everybody, trust me.
no, you know what, Ahmad, it's great to be home. My wife and I, we have 5 kids. We live in Alamo. I'm literally 7 minutes from the high school. I'm 12 minutes from my childhood home. Um, I love Danville. I love the East Bay. I love San Francisco Bay Area. I was gone for a while. I went to LA, and then my life took me to Minnesota for 6 years out there. And gradually I made my way back out west. But it's so great to be back in the area. I take Bart into work sometimes, and as much as I can. And I run into old friends. I've run into guys I went to high school with, Scott Slocum and others. I ran into a business school classmate of mine. And you run into a lot of Cal grads and sometimes I'm just watching film or on my phone, and then sometimes you get into a pretty cool conversation, but it's really awesome to be home, and we're building something great here at Cal. In year 1, we made a jump. In year 2, we made a slight jump. It needed to be bigger, but still we made a jump. This year, we need to take a huge jump. We've kind of revamped some of the things we're doing. We always really try to focus, Ahmad and Reza, on the strengths of our players. And so we've made a few tweaks, and also the game continues to change every year. And really, when you look at the game in 5-year segments, the game can change a lot. And so I'm extremely excited about the season.
That's great. You were telling us a little bit about what to expect from this year's teams. One of the big challenges I'm sure that you're facing is just almost a complete overturn of the roster. I mean, you got a couple of the student athletes who are hanging on from last year to this year, but it's just got to be so challenging to put together a team and to make sure that all the pieces kind of fit into place to be able to really effectively run your offense and set your defense and all of that. But I can't not ask this question because it's not lost on all the Cal fans that not only are you the head coach of the men's basketball team, but another Stanford standout, Sharman Smith, is the head coach of the women's team. Now, did you reach out to Coach Smith to ask her about Cal before taking the job?
No, I did not reach out to her prior to taking the job, but we've had many conversations, since coming to Cal. And Sharman and I, we knew each other. We were at Stanford about the same time, and we knew each other. And I have huge respect for Sharman Smith, what she's done, what she's built. She really kind of put everything together last year and just had a total breakout season. And, Sharman and I have exchanged notes on different things as well, basketball related, X's and O's related. And so it's awesome to be on the same side of the ball as Sharman.
Yeah, well, we love the idea that both you guys are in charge of our basketball programs, and Charmin, absolutely, having been here as long as she's been here, kind of set the template, showed what can be done here, and she's turning it around, which is great to see. But to get into your coaching philosophy, can you tell us a little bit about, what kind of informs how you like to play the game and your relationship with Mike Montgomery, who, of
Mhm.
course, is beloved by not only Stanford, but Cal fans for everything he did for both programs.
Yeah, first of all, I saw Mike Montgomery about 10 days ago. We both were there for Jorge Gutierrez induction into the Cal Hall of Fame. So it was great to catch up with Mike. Mike is number one, a world-class coach, and equally number one, he's a world-class human being. And I've leaned on Mike over the years, certainly at Stanford, also after Stanford. And Mike is a friend, and he's also someone that will help me when I run into a roadblock. Mike philosophically we had a number of sets where there were counters to everything, and they were extremely hard to guard. And to be honest with you, we will have aspects of some of Mike Montgomery's principles in our offense a little bit more this year than we had last year. And so that'll be exciting. In terms of some of the strengths of our players and stylistically, philosophically, as a coach, it's the same as when I was a player. It's the most fun when the ball is moving. Last year, we struggled with that. We really struggled. We were near the bottom of all NCAA Division I programs in assisted field goals. That's a huge problem. We worked on passing every day before practice. Every day, the first thing of practice, we worked on passing. We got a little bit better, but that's probably a product of two things. We were not a great shooting team last year, so sometimes the passes were there and we just had a ball go in and out. And then secondly, passing is contagious. We had a lot of downhill drives last year to kind of really maximize some strengths of different players on the team. But so far this year, Reza, the ball has been moving, it's been flying around, and everyone has been sharing the ball. And that's one of my core principles as a coach is great ball movement. Everyone's touching it and everyone feels involved.
Well, that's really great to hear because as Cal fans, we need to look no further than Jason Kidd era when talking about passing the ball and ball movement, and then the Warriors, of course. That's what really is the defining thing when you take a look at their offense and how the ball just moves from one player to another, and you get those easy shots. And one thing that I've always kind of thought about is that everybody likes to preach defense. And yeah, defense is without question important. You always have to be able to play defense. But one of the things that I was always struck by was Dean Smith, legendary coach at North Carolina, who was talking about how it's also about creating easy shots because you need to be able to score points. You can't just play nothing but defense. It's unrealistic to think you're going to win a game 2-0 in basketball. So, right. So you got to be able to create those easy opportunities to score points.
No doubt, no doubt. Just when you were saying that, Reza, it reminded me, my freshman or sophomore year at Stanford, Mike Montgomery came into a players meeting and he said, "Hey guys, there was a score last night with, I think he said Carolina and somebody else. He said that was in the 40s. And it's amazing the way the game has changed. The implementation of the shot clock, the lowering of the shot clock, the proliferation of more three-point attempts. Even now, there are changes, that are happening at the college and the NBA level. More teams are crashing people to the offensive glass.
Mhm.
Even in the NBA in the 2012 to 2015, the conventional wisdom based on analytics was don't even go for offensive rebounds. Just sprint back and take away all easy baskets of the opponent. Well, that's gone 180. And now you see some NBA teams sending 5 guys to the offensive glass. And we have a call for that. We have a call. Now, we're not going to send all 5 because it's a little risky, but there probably are some situations this year where we will send all 5 players to the offensive glass. And our call for that is tsunami, where we'll do that. And when would we do something like that? A snowy night in Syracuse, where we're delayed getting in, a slow start. Okay, let's go tsunami. Let's change the momentum of the game. Let's get some extra possessions. And so there's times and situations where you might do that.
So look, every year is a different year. Every team's a different team. What do you expect from this year's team? And talk about what it's like in your thoughts and the transition into the ACC.
Thanks, Ahmad. Yeah, so let me talk about the ACC first. First of all, it's a huge opportunity. The ACC to me is the premier basketball league in the country. When you look at in terms of the totality and the body of work of the ACC, how deep the ACC teams go in the tournament, it's the ACC. It was a down year last year, but this year it's not going to be a down year because I'm aware of what all the other teams have done recruiting wise, what the other teams have done in terms of NIL resources. So we've gotten back on par collectively with the ACC and the Big 12 and the Big 10. The travel, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, the sleep science people, they say you do one of two things. You either go out there early and you get on the East Coast time zone, you go out there 2 or 3 days early and you just get on the new time zone, or you disregard the time zones and you show up as close to tip off as possible, probably the day before, and you stay on the West Coast time zone. Well, last year we did the former. We went out 2 days early and we tried to adjust. I didn't like our energy in the first game of each series, of each 2-game set. So this year we're going to go out one day early. We'll get up at 7 a.m. On a Tuesday for a Wednesday game on the East Coast.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're going to do that. And I think that will yield some dividends in terms of energy and just our ability to compete right out of the gate. This year's team, Ahmad, I mentioned it earlier, but we got some really unselfish players that can really pass the ball. So I'll start with Justin Pippen. You know, obviously Scottie Pippen's son. Scottie was up here on the visit with Justin. I love Scottie. He and I both played in the triangle offense. You know, he and I are up here and we're sharing Phil Jackson stories. Phil Jackson one time in practice said, he called this play out. He said, cross grain, button hook, center opposite down the gut. That's one sequence. Cross grain, button hook, center opposite, down the gut. And Brian Shaw looked at him like, come on, Phil, that's a mouthful. But it's a language that Scottie speaks, and I speak it too because I was in the same system, and so that was fun. But Justin can really pass the ball. TT Carr can really pass the ball. Dede Ames out of Virginia, who is really kind of exploding into his own at Virginia. We're fortunate to have him. He's a explosive scorer, but he also really passes the ball. So the ball's going to be moving. We have shooting. You know, Ahmad, last year, I think we were last in the ACC in three-point percentage, so teams could really pack the paint. Chris Bell, an East Bay guy, ultimately,
Right.
played at De La Salle. He shoots the lights out from three. John Camden, great shooter. I mean, we got a lot of shooting coming in. So, and then our returners, Ritas Petritis, Lee Dort, DJ Campbell. Guys, each one of them has starting experience, so that's huge.
I'm fired up, baby. I'm fired up. Let's go. Don't sit next to me because I'm going to knock somebody's popcorn over. Trust me.
I love it. I love it.
Well, I got to ask this question, just considering the tremendous success that you had as a college player and then at the professional level, winning 2 NBA championships with players like Kobe and Shaq. What stories do you share with your players about how to prepare for each game?
Well, preparation is so important. I mean, very few weeks go by without me talking about some type of story or something I observed from some of these Hall of Famers. You know, I talked to a lot of our players about Kobe's footwork. Kobe would later in his, so I played with Kobe and then I coached Kobe in the 2 years before he retired. Even at 35, a so-called older player, he was in there sometimes 2 hours early working on his footwork for 45 minutes. That's it. He would work on his footwork for 45 minutes because as a basketball player, if you have great footwork, and I learned this from Kobe, if you can kind of keep the defender stuck on the ground while you're elevating into the air to shoot, it makes it an easy shot. Well, Kobe would work on it all the time, constantly. And I tell our guys, I say, guys, most NBA players with great footwork, it's something you can work on and get better at. And so we talked to our players about that. I talked yesterday to our players about communication on the court and how Kevin Garnett was an elite communicator. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a world champion, but he was also an elite communicator. I would come into the game and it was obvious who my matchup was. He and I both guarded the other team's 2 big guys. And every time I came in on the free throw line, Kev would say, you have right there. And I got this guy. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Kev, you're just overdoing it. I know. But then now that I coach, I'm so grateful for that because KG did not want to leave anything to chance, nothing to chance with great communication.
Yeah, I mean, when I take a look at how much experience you've had at different levels, collegiately and professionally, and that kind of stuff. I mean, who wouldn't want to come and play for you? That's amazing. Like you could share these stories and actually tell people about what it was like to play alongside and to coach these amazing players. So this whole landscape of what's going on in the world of collegiate athletics with NIL and the transfer portal. I mean, it's got to be so challenging. I don't think there's ever been a time when it's been as challenging to be a head coach for a basketball team. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you see that you face with the current state of basketball with NIL and the transfer portal?
So first of all, thank you, Reza. I love this profession. I love my job as a coach. I love it. I mean, the current atmosphere, it reminds me of running a G League team. I was only an assistant in the G League. But it's a lot of moving pieces, players, money's shouldn't be the number one factor, but it plays a huge factor in recruiting because if you're a top 10 player, you want top 10 money. And this last summer, top 10 money was between $2 and $4 million for 1 year. Um, that's for a single player. And of course, right now, we're not there at Cal in terms of having that level of resource to go out and be competitive to sign a top 10 or top 20 player. But I hope to get us there. I know a lot of your listeners are probably honestly financial backers of various sports at Cal. And I would just say, hey, we're going to lock arms. We're going to build our donor base. Eventually, we're going to have a practice facility. It's some of the guys that left. They said, hey, we got kicked out of the rec center when we were trying to shoot. And I said, well, how many times did that happen? Because I was working with them along the way and they shared in confidence. It happened too many times, and so that's a challenge. But we're going to get a dedicated practice facility at some point, and we're working towards it. We're going to make it happen. We can't be the only Power Four school without it because it can hurt us in recruiting. But a lot of people are working really hard on that right now, even as we speak. And we hope in the future, all the plans are done. All the appropriations are there. Now it comes down to fundraising. And so these are some of the challenges, but our goal is to turn Cal back into a national contender every single year. And we're going to do it, but we're going to lock arms to do it. And we're going to do it collectively as a group.
Well, I got to tell you, one, if you need somebody to be on that capital campaign, to be able to go out and speak on the behalf of the university and behalf of the team and what your philosophy is, and knowing it firsthand and experiencing it from the first day I met you, you can put my name down and look, put me in the game, coach, because I'm ready to do that. Just want to let you
Well,
know.
Ahmad, thank you for that. And Ahmad, I'm going to repeat to you publicly to the viewers what I told you on the phone, Ahmad, because I understand you're running for mayor. And so let me tell you this. If I lived in your jurisdiction, I would vote for you. And I know nothing about your politics, but here's why: because you're a good person, and I know that whatever your politics are, you would listen to the other side, and you would have dialogue, and you would do your best to come together for everyone involved. And so I repeat that: if I lived in your jurisdiction, I would vote for you, Ahmad.
Thank you, brother. That means
Absolutely.
of mine. Folks don't know, but Mark and I have become very close in a short period of time. I spend a lot of time sending him information about basketball players that I see in high schools, and he's probably thinking, this football guy is out here doing these things. Well, and I share this, and I know our time is coming close, but one of my
Yeah.
good friends is B. Shaw, because I went to St.
Yeah.
Mary High School here in the Bay, and he was at Bishop O'Dowd. So I have a long list of guys that play basketball, not only at the college level, but went on professionally. So I appreciate you, and I'm here for you. And with that being said, tell us a little bit about the prospective recruits down the way and why they should come to Cal other than what we've talked about. They should be sold. But why should they come to Cal and play for Mark Madsen?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Ahmad. I'm glad you
They got
asked
to
that.
beat
No.
me out of the point guard position, but tell them why.
Well, I would say this, player development for us is something we are incredibly strong at. You know, we've developed all these players and we've had a hard time retaining them. And look, we developed them. They developed themselves too.
Yeah,
They developed themselves too. They put the work in, but it's a team approach. And so obviously Jalen Tyson did so well. We couldn't keep him because he went to the NBA. He was almost a lottery
yeah,
pick. You
right.
know, you look at Jeremiah Wilkinson and Andres Stojakovic, two great players and great people. They both had such breakout seasons that they ended up going elsewhere, but player development. And as we move forward, Ahmad, you're going to see our retention level really go up.
Yeah.
And that is going to help Cal long term.
Very good. Well, you talked about a lot of things. You talked about being an East Bay guy. You've talked about traveling around the country and the world. Talked about your great family, wonderful kids, which I've met. I met the crew. They're at the University Club and the whole bit. I feel like Uncle Ahmad with you when I'm around. But tell me this. There are always bear territory moments, and it may not be necessarily in the paint. It may not be in the locker room. It may not be on the plane or even riding BART. But what has been your bear territory moment since you came to Cal, before you got to Cal? But what is that for you in life, as you know, bear territory to be?
Ahmad, I'm going to tell you two things. One bear territory moment is just going back, honestly, to two of my high school teachers that bled Cal Bears. They bled it. And just the impact they had on my life, you know? So that's one. And the other one is I never fully understood this expression, go Bears. It can be a hello. It can be a goodbye. It can be after a great win. It can be after a tough loss. This expression, go Bears, is an expression that takes on a multitude of meanings. And I want that meaning. I want that Go Bears meaning to be the meaning of championship. That's the one I want.
I love that answer. That is fantastic.
That's one of the best answers ever.
That's it, man. Well,
Bring
hey.
me in. Bring me in.
Well, hey, Coach, we couldn't appreciate you more for making the time. I know everybody wants a piece of you, especially this time of the year, but you've been so gracious. And again, you are just such a charismatic dude. We are so grateful that you are in charge of our men's basketball program. Couldn't be more appreciative of you. And I got to say, I am looking forward to the day when you're going up the ladder to cut down the net, and we get to see you break out some more dance moves, because I think every Cal fan is looking forward to that.
Hey, you're the man. I'll dance when both of you guys sing the song, man. The
All
Bear
righty.
territory. So I'll be dancing right next to you guys.
Well, there's some things coming up here shortly that we may surprise you, but we may be setting up shop right there in Haas. So just wait for it, fans. Wait for it. But the Bears are coming, and we're doing it with Mark Madsen, baby.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you again, and go Bears.
Go
Go
Bears!
Bears. Go Bears.
See what I mean about Mark? There's no question the guy brings a tremendous amount of energy and enthusiasm to his job, and it's just a matter of time before he leads us to a breakthrough season. And I'm certainly happy he's a Golden Bear. That's going to do it for this week's episode. This podcast is entirely a labor of love and a reflection of how much we love our university. Please help grow this podcast by telling the whole damn world about us. Just tell all your friends to go to tellthewholedamnworld.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. We sincerely appreciate all of you out there listening and watching. And remember to tune in to our very first live stream pregame podcast episode on Friday, November 21st, before the Sacramento State men's basketball game. We go live at 6 p.m. directly from Alumni House. See you later this week. This podcast is about celebrating all things Cal and the prominent people who are passionate about the University of California. Do you feel Cal is the center of the universe? Do you bleed blue and gold? We want you to tell the whole damn world about it. Go Bears!